Hello and welcome everyone back to the Generally Speaking podcast. Today we have two very, very special guests.
Very special.
From Beyond Being Well, the podcast next door. Thank you for coming, Dr. Ryan Keegan and Sceisinski. Did I pronounce that right?
It's Sceisinski.
Sceisinski, okay.
Yeah.
Now I want to keep this clear. You're not actually a doctor, Ryan, correct?
Yeah, and before I get into that, I just want to say thank you so much for having us on to the general release. I'll say thank you as well. Make sure I get that in there. I'm definitely very appreciative for you having me.
No problem. We appreciate you guys for coming on.
This is actually our first time being on another sort of medium like this. Well, we have our own podcast, obviously, but in terms of being invited, I mean, I've been invited to many things in my lifetime, but this is a podcast that is not Beyond Being Well that I am invited onto. So I think you said that well. Yeah, and I think Beyond Being Well. And I think that is something that Ryan is trying to say. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm not a doctor.
Okay, yeah, Matt is not our Ryan Keegan is not a doctor. But you guys said
it's like a term of endearment is basically kind of how we look at it.
So Dr. Ryan, what started this health fanaticism for you? Like what really set it off that you wanted to get into health so much?
Yeah, so I think it really started for me back in university. I was in my beginning of junior year and I was a biology major at the time, and I was realizing that what they were teaching was just completely off base.
Where'd you attend university?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I try to forget everything about
understandable.
University.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How you said it was what they were teaching was off what again?
Off base, not really in touch with the actual reality of health that we're seeing in our sort of landscape per se. Sort of. I think what Ryan's touching on here is that the university's coming kind of from a virtual lens, and they're not even touching what is in reality. Yeah, they're not.
Can you give an example? Can you give an example of the two?
I think, I think that what we have to look at is the here and now. And I think that we can't be harping on all of these things that universities said because we don't want to confuse any of our audience about what we're actually talking about, right? Listen, will getting an A on an exam on intercellular respiration, will that make you healthier?
No.
Hell no. No, it won't.
I don't believe so.
So that's the point I'm trying to make. So I dropped out. You could use the term dropout. I'm a college dropout. And from there, I went on a sort of spiritual health journey, going out of the country multiple times, more than I could count, just to different retreats, and just sort of absorbing all sorts of information.
How many countries have you been to?
Over 50.
Do you have a certain favorite? Because I saw that you went to an animal excursion in Africa. Is that true?
Yes, that was the most recent retreat that I went on in Zimbabwe.
In Zimbabwe? Was that the best one you've been on?
No, well, it actually wasn't a retreat. It wasn't great because basically what happened was he thought he was doing therapy, and then it was turned into a sort of experiment. He was sort of experimented on. Is that right? Yeah. So if episode 3 of Beyond Being Well, we really cover that story. We sort of do I encourage you to listen to that. Yeah.
Okay, but the podcast, whose idea was it to start the podcast between you two?
I think it was mine.
It was mine. How did you approach Sai about the idea?
I think it was more of a mutual thing. I mean, he couldn't have done it without me. Let's just say that, right?
Of course, Ryan? But who coined the idea first?
I mean, that has to be me.
Well, what makes you think? What makes you think you coined it first? Dr. Keegan, would you like to go first? What makes you think you coined it first?
Well, it doesn't really matter who came up with the idea.
True.
First, because I'm bringing in so much information to the podcast. So could it really exist without me? I don't think so.
And the other side of the coin there is that I sort of exist as this, I'm sort of the ears and eyes of the listenership, kind of guiding them to what is the thought process that should be happening right now.
Sort of like a novice perspective on health and really observing the information first time.
Yeah,
what Sai does.
And kind of this skewed perspective that's very unique, but also completely universal.
Yeah, more relatable to the people, you would say, right?
Exactly. I'm very, very much a guide and leader in that way.
So how did you two meet off in the first place?
Yeah.
I basically was just, we happened upon each other. I was reading an article, and
Yeah, so
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we were in a bus station, like a bus stop, and he was reading a magazine. It was a health-related magazine. I believe it was Innovation.
I can't.
What was the name of that?
It doesn't really matter what it was. I mean, it's sort of the golden apple to how we met, and that's all that matters, really.
Yeah. So it was sort of like when you see something that you can relate to someone with, easy conversation starter, and we just bonded over that piece of material.
How long ago was that?
Excuse me?
How long ago was that?
Maybe over a year ago.
Yeah, about that.
Okay. Well, this is our first time having doctors on our show. If you guys are a doctor on our show.
I'm actually not a doctor.
Not a doctor. He's not a doctor.
Well, maybe you can answer this question for me, because I've been looking for some advice from a health advisor, I should say. I have a problem with my eating habits, overeating.
You're not alone, man. You're not alone. Let me tell you that. Not me. But I just mean other people that exist in the world. We know this. This is.
Yeah, but I will go wake up and, go eat a breakfast, and I'll start off just with like an egg and a couple pieces of bacon, but then I'll just keep progressing on and I won't stop. And basically I'm just wondering, do you guys have any tips on how to fix that? How do I stop myself from just indulging? You know what I mean?
I think I have an idea here, and it is you need to skip breakfast entirely.
Entirely?
Yeah, entirely.
So,
Ryan?
Yeah. So I went on a retreat. It was a fasting retreat in the deserts of Arizona, and what we did there is we would days on end without food or water.
Wow.
So so your body's actually very, very adaptive, and put in high stress situations, you can actually handle it. Now, not enough water will become a problem around 3 days time, but food, you can last a long time.
So were you still drinking water every 3 days at least?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, absolutely. He's not an idiot. I mean, but
yeah.
Very true. Very true.
So I encourage you to just not start eating.
Not start eating.
I mean, you can go as far as what Ryan did, but what I've been doing for years is just skipping breakfast. I mean, go ahead.
It's overrated, in my opinion. I've always thought this, but I'm glad we have doctors on. I'm glad we have people who are health officials who can co-sign this. Please.
And you hear, and I don't know where they got this from, but you hear this saying, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And what the phrase really should be is breakfast shouldn't exist, meal of the day.
There's something called intermittent fasting.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's 16 hours within the 24 hours that you're not eating.
So you guys are saying by fasting, that'll help me, because I feel like it's more of almost a mental thing behind the overeating instead of a hunger thing, you know? So you think the fasting will somehow make me realize that I shouldn't be overeating?
No, Corey, it's actually
That's Cody. It's Cody. It's Cody.
Cody.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
my bad.
It's okay.
It comes back to this. We're programmed. We are programmed from day one. We are programmed to believe certain things. For instance, years ago, you know, back in maybe the 50s, the early 50s, it was just introduced, the idea of cereal for breakfast. That was never a thing before.
When was that again?
Around the 1950s in the U.S.
Wow.
Cereals were just like invented because and they were marketed actually to be some sort of replacement for, you would just have leftovers for breakfast, and they were trying to market it in a way that would be like, oh, you don't have the heartburn anymore, you won't get heartburn, have this cornflake. And that kind of is just been marketed to you, but in reality you didn't need any of that. You can really skip it all.
So, yeah, and by skipping your first meal, your body actually goes into a form of breaking down materials for energy called ketosis.
Yes.
Where you'll be using the fat in your body, and you'll be burning more fat than ever before, and you'll pretty much be like a machine.
So, would you say that drinking tea would perhaps help with the overeating?
Absolutely.
Because I see that you're sipping on I assume, tea over there, right?
Of course, and it's a decaffeinated blend. And you know, I don't want to get into this too much because I'm trying to save talking about, I'm actually starting believe it or not,
tea business.
A tea business. Thank you. I was just about to say that. And I want to lay low about it just a little bit because I just want to, you know, save it for the podcast. You guys understand.
Understandable.
You know, of course.
The announcements, you have to save the big announcements. So I don't want to get into that big time, but I will say that I am drinking decaffeinated blend. My tea business will be exclusively decaffeinated teas. And yes, and I think that tea is an excellent sort of replacement for if you might feel those urges, those hunger urges, Corey.
I thought
I could have swore that caffeine. It's Cody.
Sorry. I don't know why I'm doing that.
It's okay. It's all good.
I could have swore that
with what you were saying.
I could have swore caffeine. I might be wrong, obviously, but I could have swore caffeine helped to curb overeating or losing weight, or help losing weight in general. I'm guessing I'm wrong.
Caffeine does, but here's the thing: is that it's sort of a villain, and we shouldn't really be using caffeine.
Yeah, you don't want to bring in a villain to kill your other villain. You want a hero to step in, and that's where fasting is the hero.
And decaffeinated teas.
Caffeine is a whole slippery slope.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So if you can avoid the caffeine, while it may have that sort of, you're seeing it as a positive thing, and maybe it is, but it has some other attributes that are rather negative, and I try to avoid those with at all costs.
I have heard some recent findings that tea can be very harmful for you.
Whoa! Can you explain?
No.
Well, I can see how like a McDonald's, like if you go to McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, and you get a sweet tea, that can be seen as.
Well, yeah. No. Sweet tea is not even real tea. That is just sugar water. We're not serving that at our establishment. That's not going to be served. So we don't need to bring that up.
But how is regular tea?
Yeah.
Harmful?
So it's sort of goes against all you've been taught, but plants are actually quite toxic.
Well, we know that. We know
even
that.
your family favorites like broccoli and spinach.
I love broccoli. Love
Love
broccoli.
it. Love
Well, I'm sorry, Ryan, but what tea is made out of broccoli? I don't think that's actually a tea. So I think I got you there.
it. What broccoli's
but
made out of tea?
Tea is plants. And not only
Sure.
is it plants, it's highly concentrated herbs.
But it's a variety, and these are ones that we're growing in a specific way. It's all going to be organic. It's going to be, and it's not like you're ingesting the plant itself. You're rather steeping that plant and getting
all of the toxins into the water.
Nutrients of it in the hot water.
In the hot water, but the hot water is going to kill the toxin and the bad omens. I assume.
Yes,
We're not sure of that right now.
but it is very much something that would make sense. So,
Well, that's
as we're on the topic of like alternative treatments, you guys have you heard of the coronavirus that's going around?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you guys have any? Because as we know, we don't really have a cure for it. We're all just guessing. Trump said to ingest bleach or cleaning products. I don't know if you saw that.
Lysol.
We don't really want to talk about politics.
No, of course not. I was getting to the idea of alternative treatments for the coronavirus. If you guys had any idea or any clues on what we could do to possibly prevent it, other than just social distancing, quarantining ourselves. What's like an extra step, a better way?
Like, what's the biggest health precaution that we're not taking seriously?
You hear these now they're buzzwords. You got the flu, you got the coronavirus. But
Right.
you know what's really killing people?
Obesity.
You know what's really No, it's their health.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's their health itself. And I think it's coming back to, I think, Ryan, you may want to piggyback off of this after I'm done speaking on it. But I think that it comes back to some of the things that we were saying before. So it really is fasting. It is all of these, avoiding vegetables. It's all of these things that just boost your immune system itself. And those things will help you in case you got coronavirus, that it would help you battle it so that you do not end up as one of the unfortunate people who have passed away because of the disease. So, yeah. Does that answer the question? Or Brian, yeah.
You have to take a holistic approach with any of this and, get down to the root cause of any issue. And, there's many factors. Sugar intake completely destroys your immune system. And here in America, sugar is eaten at an insane rate.
Ubiquitous, absolutely ubiquitous.
Yes, I believe it's the National Heart Institute recommends that men eat no more than 16 grams of sugar a day. I mean, teaspoons.
Off of like
teaspoons.
Off of the head, I couldn't tell you what 16 grams of sugar is. Could you explain that?
Off of what?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
Your head.
Yeah.
Well, if you had 16 grams of sugar on your head, it would feel like you were wearing a hat.
Yeah.
It's more than you think.
No, but I misspoke. 16 grams is way too much sugar. It's actually 16 teaspoons.
Yes.
Teaspoons. How much is 16 teaspoons to the naked eye, though?
16 grams is 4 teaspoons.
You can't. Can I just say something?
Yes, please.
You cannot trust the naked eye. That's why our medium is podcasts, okay?
Exactly.
You really cannot do it. And I think that, he's saying 16 teaspoons of sugar. And I think that that's just, you could eyeball it, but you shouldn't even be trying to eyeball it because you shouldn't even trying to eat it. I mean,
exactly, you're right. You shouldn't even be eating sugar in general.
Right.
Absolutely. So just forget about trying to eyeball it.
But that's the thing. It's in everything. It is sugar is literally in everything.
You're right. It's in everything.
It's it's ridiculous, like a Slim Jim that has sugar in it. You wouldn't think.
Believe it or not.
Shouldn't be even eating Slim Jims in the first place. Anyway,
What is it, Slim Jim?
Just a little stick of meat,
Yeah.
But
do you guys have certain diets you follow as health officials? You want to get into that?
Yeah. So I love that we're talking about food. It's food is medicine. So
yes.
The diet that I'm
apple a day
currently
keeps the doctor away.
Sorry?
An apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Actually, not so much. Because I'm actually on a strict carnivore diet.
And I'm actually doing that too, starting that to phase out the rest of it and actually going towards keto.
Okay.
Yeah, so I eat no fruits or vegetables. So apples would make me go to the doctor, and actually meat keeps me completely away from the doctor.
So as a carnivore, are you just solely eating meat, breakfast, lunch, dinner? So
it's a head to tail policy where you include any part of the animal. Just eating steaks is not going to get you where you need to be. You need to eat bladders, livers,
every part of the animal. Really.
Yeah.
So you're saying that animal meat has less toxin in it than vegetables that we eat.
Yes.
If you get a good animal.
Think about this. Why would an animal need toxins? It can run away from a predator. A plant is in the ground. It needs something to defend itself. You see what I'm saying?
So you're saying the plant will produce toxins. So that's the only way it has to defend itself. A plant really isn't self-aware, right?
Yeah, a plant can't move.
That we know of, but yes.
But don't we produce toxins? Don't animals produce toxins, like just in general? Like, don't we as humans produce toxins? Isn't that why we sweat and we cry and we like all this other stuff to expel toxins from us?
Yeah, we're expelling them, but we're not producing them on purpose.
I feel you. You're right.
Yeah,
whereas
it's not a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Sai, you said you're going straight to keto?
I'm phasing out. I'm in the process of phasing out into keto. I'm gluten free and dairy free, and
you're still eating veggies, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah, I'll admit I'm trying to phase them out. Yeah.
So Ryan, you recommend no vegetables in the diet?
No, none.
I also recommend it, but I'm also trying to. I'm eating them now, but I'm trying to kind of move away from that. And
that actually brings us back to why coffee is so bad. Not only is it a burnt product, a carcinogen, but it is a bean, a plant with toxins.
Yeah.
So, but you don't see the health benefits vegetables bring on?
I think the cons outweigh the pros when it comes to vegetables.
So
it's sort of I'd kind of categorize it as sort of an unnecessary evil.
Vegetables themselves.
Do you still respect fruits?
I mean, I respect them symbolically, but I don't eat them.
Yeah, I don't
Not even
either.
Fruits.
Fruit is just sugar for the seed of another plant that's going to come along. It's actually not supposed to be eaten by us.
It's a visual cue. It's sort of it's a cherry on top. I mean, itself.
Yeah, if you eat a fruit, you're actually being tricked, sort of.
In what way?
It's pretty much like giving candy to a child. The tree is tricking you to spread its seed by having a very delicious sugar filled fruit.
And think about it. When have you seen a vegetable or a piece of meat as a design kind of a sort of emblem, or Apple, Macintosh? It's sort of an attractive, they decided on a fruit, and that's for a great reason. It's attractive to the eye. I mean, must you admit that?
It's a trick. These aren't actually good for us. It's good for the plant.
It's kind of like
sense.
So it's kind of like saying
it's a good art, a still life. It's a nice subject for a painting.
So like how they compare carrots, how how bunnies love carrots, but that's like giving a bunny a carrot is like giving a person a Snickers bar. And so you're comparing. So you're saying like all these fruits and vegetables are like candy.
Fruit.
Hold on.
Fruit is candy. Vegetables are toxins. Let's make that very clear.
Yeah.
Fruit is natural candy, but vegetables are the toxins.
Yes, because they need their own defense mechanisms, whereas fruit is trying to spread the seed. You know, a tree is not being eaten, but its fruit is being eaten. The tree is still going to be alive after being eaten.
So
let's not forget that fruits contain more sugar than vegetables do, and therefore there's an aspect of, you know, even though that vegetables are toxins, there's a poison that is sugar that is in the other side of that.
Yeah.
When's the last time you've eaten a fruit, Ryan?
It's got to be 2 years now.
Wow. So you just gave up, like, when
Vegetables I cut out more recently.
About how long ago was that?
I would say ever since I got back.
Actually, this coming Tuesday's new podcast, we pre-recorded it, but it's from a integrative health symposium that we went to, and that was earlier back in February, and yeah, so I think we both kind of came to the conclusion that meat was the way to go during that conference.
Yeah, it was in Zimbabwe. I was able to like witness some of the lions hunting, you know, from a safe distance, obviously, and it sort of inspired me, I would say, like, to get back to our primal history and what our diet was, because, you know, you mentioned the rabbit eating the carrot. Obviously, rabbits have a history of eating carrots, but when you look at the human history, it's pretty much all meat.
So yeah, wait. So you say when you eat an animal, you go head to tail, right?
Head to tail.
What's the most underrated part of the body?
Liver.
Human body or the animal body? Well, not that we're not animals, but that distinction.
I assume you guys don't eat humans, right?
No
humans. So that's what I meant. Like, what's the most tastiest part of an animal body?
But the human thing, not because it's, you know, necessarily unethical, but it's not actually nutrient efficient. Humans don't actually have that many nutrients. I still think eating humans is wrong. But
can we go back to the vegetables?
Yeah.
Can you give me at least one example of the negative of the cons of what vegetables do to your body? Because I know that sodium and all that is going to clog your arteries and all that. Like, that's what's in meat mainly, like, right? So, like, wouldn't that clog your arteries eating too much meat? But what would vegetables do opposed to that?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, because
I may have been wrong in my statement, obviously, yes, but
no, you're definitely coming from the societal views of these foods, but actually meat doesn't clog your arteries at all, and it's actually sugar intake. Sugar leads to more inflammation, which leads to clogging up the blood vessels.
Issues.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, meat and fat was targeted by the sugar industry so that sugar could have, you know, more of a safeguard.
It kind of put it at the top of the pyramid there, and that's
exactly.
And as you've noticed, or you may have noticed, the pyramid has kind of gone to the wayside.
The pyramid is trash.
Absolutely, and
the pyramid changes. The pyramid changes every 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's sort of like a lunch, little like lunch plate platter. But even then, you know,
it's not even based in truth. It's, you know, you have these outside interests, these corporate interests that are actually determining what is on the plate, because, you know, they have products that they want to be sold and eaten. So, and
that's back to the cereal thing that I was bringing up earlier. If you notice in the pyramid, for instance, the bottom block of the pyramid, it's grains, it's cereals.
Grains.
Now every man and his mother are gluten-free, you know? And so you're seeing that those are not
it's the whiplash.
Yeah, it's the whiplash effect.
But back to what you were saying, Tyyonn, you know, when you eat broccoli, it's not always prevalent, and you can't always see the negative effects, but you actually have these buildup of these free radicals called oxalates, and they cause a whole lot of issues. And broccoli's kind of, and these vegetables, they're kind of the invisible culprit, and there's so many other factors that get blamed, such as sugar, and you don't really always know what's causing the problem, but we're finding that it's vegetables.
We're learning more and more that vegetables may be the culprit. Yeah.
One last quick question before we go. What do you have to say to all the vegans out there who would completely?
Yeah, because you guys are really dissing vegans and vegetarians out here.
Here's the thing. They're doing, most vegans. Well, okay. Here. Let me make this distinction. Okay, so you have vegans who are doing it for ethical reasons, and I'll address that in a minute.
Very true.
But you have vegans who are doing it for other reasons, and for any other reasons other than ethical reasons, they are going to learn the hard way that is not the way to be living. And I think Ryan's brought that up before.
Yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, vegans don't become healthy. Healthy people become vegans, and that's an important distinction to make.
Absolutely.
That was a whole bar.
Yeah, no, it's a common phrase we use because there's just so much truth to it.
I have a shirt that says that.
All right, that's been another wonderful episode of Generally Speaking with Tyyonn and Cody. Make sure you follow us on all our social medias at Twitter on Generally Speak 9, Facebook Generally Speaking with Tyyonn and Cody. We are out on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, so make sure you go on there and share us with your friends and all that, get the circulation rolling. I want to thank our very special guests. We got Dr. Ryan Keegan, not actually a doctor, but still a doctor at heart. And we have Sceisinski from Beyond Being Well. Thank you very much. I want to get the floor to them. Got any final words to say?
I'm just going to say, why don't you listen to our podcast and stay healthy?
Thank you for having us.
And thank you for having us, of course.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming, yes, please.
We appreciate it.
Some words of wisdom about health, as long as you try your best, but also,
Be
use
healthy.
the information of people like, Cy and I.
But also look at others, but look at us.
Yeah, look at us and then, make your decisions.
All right.
Make the correct ones.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you guys coming on.
Much.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
All right, deuces.
All right, peace.